Welcome to episode 2 of From Peaks to Properties with me, Amy Clark, and
Chris Mogensen, real estate agents with Royal LePage Solutions here in Canmore.
We are going for a walk around our Horseshoe Loops area in Canmore, and we're going to talk to you about the Canmore market and everything Canmore has to offer.
So come join us for a small stroll as we take you around, shoot you some fun facts, and let you know what's been happening.
All right, here we go. So you might remember our last video where we were freezing to death and had to go inside to warm up. Well, this is going to be a very different video in that it is 7 degrees in the first week of February and still very icy, so you'll probably get some good blooper reels out of us. But 7 degrees, sunny, and warm.
And warm.
What do you think that does to the ski hills, Chris?
Well, the ski hills have actually had still some really good starts to the year. And we've seen Lake Louise and Sunshine, or be it Norquay, any of the other local hills, which have had a ton of early seasonal activity and some really good conditions with tons of runs open.
What else is happening around here in February?
Big exciting news. As of this past weekend, they just had the opening ceremonies for the 2026 Winter Olympics taking place in Italy.
Ooh, I always wanted to go to Italy.
I've never been to Italy, but
Me neither.
destination. Maybe for our next video.
That would be awesome.
Can't give you much of the market stats in Italy, though.
No, not yet. Maybe once we get there.
We've gone off on a tangent. Anyways, regarding the Olympics that have happened, there's actually a lot of people out of Canmore that are going to be very focused on these Winter Olympics. We have a ton of people in the Bow Valley who are past and upcoming or current Olympians, given the environment of where we live here, as well as all the facilities that are offered.
What kind of facilities do we have?
One of the big ones, when we're talking specifically for the Winter Olympics, we actually have the Canmore Nordic Center. So for those who don't know how Canmore came about, it was originally a coal mining town and not looked at very fondly of until 1988, when Calgary hosted the Winter Olympics. And one of the facilities that was built was Canmore's Nordic Center, which was built for biathlon and Olympic events, following which it was renovated and turned into a recreational facility for people of all ages to come and play there. It offers over 65 kilometers of cross-country ski trails.
Wow.
And it's become a destination for not just your regular everyday person, but specifically athletes around the world who come to train. And it's become renowned and really well known as a great place for athletes to come during their off season and prepare for these big events.
I have personally sold a couple of places now to families that have children training in the Olympics. And they have found it more cost efficient to actually purchase a property in Canmore while their children are training for 2 to 4 years, and then sell it once they move on to their next endeavor.
And I've heard similar things from athletes who are from the Bow Valley, and the cost that is on parents and families who want to support their children who are training for these world-renowned and world-level of sports. Unfortunately, a lot of them don't have the funding required, and parents and families often have to absorb a lot of that cost themselves. So yeah, sometimes it makes more sense and it's easier to displace the family to facilitate those things for those young athletes.
When we're looking at families trying to get into the market, just like we've been talking about, what does our stats look like right now for that?
Well, so we have seen some changes in the markets, and we've seen a little bit of an increase, which is what we want to see, because this now, as we're coming into February, is where we start to see the increase into our spring market, and things should start to pick up. So right now, Canmore has 121 active listings up there.
Up from 109 from our last video.
Up from 109, and of them, approximately 20 of them are currently under contract. Of the active ones or under contract, 23 of them are single-family homes. The remainder being split between townhomes, apartment-style condos, and then, as we mentioned a little bit last time,
the short-term rental market.
Short-term rental market. So we are actually up. I'm really happy to see. Last time we did a video, there was only 3 visitor accommodation properties, aka short-term rental properties, on the market as of 3 weeks ago. Today, there's 8.
That's still incredibly low, Chris, especially for our spring market. I'm hoping to see a lot more listings come on. There is always a significant amount of buyers sitting in the wings, especially at this time, waiting for those properties to come on market.
So on that note, Amy, maybe you can explain a little bit to everyone, why is it that people are looking for these short-term rentals? What's so attractive about them? Why are they hard to find on the market right now? Or maybe why inventory might be a little bit down?
Sure.
And what are people looking for? What are the positives, negatives, and benefits?
I'm very happy to talk about this. Most of my sales are actually in the short-term rental market and getting people started within that kind of investment property. So it was about 10 years ago that the short-term rental market really started to become an active market in Canmore's sales. And the reason for that, of course, is Airbnb, as we all know. And whether that's a good word to you or a bad word to you, it is still a huge part of the investment opportunities in Canmore. Canmore, being the closest thing to Banff National Park, has become the major hub for these types of properties. You cannot short-term rent in Banff. You have to have an actual B&B license to be able to short-term rent your property in Banff, and those are few and far between. Whereas Canmore has become basically the closest thing to the national park in which accommodation can be plentiful.
When we talk about these short-term rentals and their specific zoning to them, why did the town make these changes and create that short-term rental market specific to, again, 30 days or less of occupation?
That's a great question. So let's break that down a little bit for everybody. First of all, Canmore has 3 different zonings. The first one being residential. Any type of residential property cannot be short-term rented at all. It's a 30-day or more rental period. And Canmore's cracked down a lot on that this year as well. Well, at the end of last year, because this year has only just begun.
Well, now, I'm going to cut you off for a second. When we talk about most of the market that is a minimum of 30 days, does that prevent people from having the ability to buy secondary properties like weekend residences in those areas?
No, not at all. You're absolutely allowed to purchase and stay in your weekend residence as much as you want, as long as you don't have it listed on Airbnb. That's the big caveat. In our second part of the zoning, we have what is called tourist zoning. Now, this one is a bit of a loaded zoning situation because things are changing there within the town of Canmore, but initially it was created so that you can either live in it long-term or you can rent it out short-term, essentially do whatever you want with it. And depending on how you were using it, you can ask for the tax breaks on that property depending on how you chose to use it, i.e. residential long-term living or long-term renting, you typically pay a smaller tax amount than those that are short-term renting their properties. Our last bit of that zoning that Canmore put into place was called hotel condo zoning, and that is for short-term rental only. Now, does that mean that somebody's policing that and making sure that you're not staying longer than 28 days in your condo? No, nobody's doing that. Who's got the manpower?
No, or the budget.
Or the budget. But what it does mean is that you cannot apply for a tax break if you do choose to live in your hotel condo for an extended period of time.
Well, Amy, now that we know a little bit more, it's a little bit clearer about the zoning, maybe you can explain a little bit about why people get into short-term rentals. What are they looking for? What are the benefits of them?
Well, Chris, they're a significantly profitable investment property that, because of our proximity to Banff National Park, is a very safe way to invest your dollars. One of the main things that we see is that these 2-bedroom short-term rental properties, they tend to gross around $120,000 a year. And our 1-bedrooms are grossing at about $90,000 to $95,000 a year. Now, that's dependent on quite a few things. Depends on the building you're purchasing in. It depends on who you have managing it. People that are self-managing will frequently see lower numbers than people that are having professional management companies take care of it for them. But with that kind of gross annual income, it is very attractive to a lot of buyers. Not to mention that the equity in these places also grow significantly faster than our residential units.
Well, and I guess too that the income generated by them as well, since you're not locked into long-term leases, and as the hotel market continues to increase their prices for visitor accommodations and people wanting to visit the Bow Valley, the short-term rental prices go up as well at a much faster rate.
They sure do. I mean, when I was making these videos 5 years ago, I was telling people that their 2 bedrooms were making $90,000, and now they're making 120 plus.
Which is a pretty significant increase. If you think about that, we're talking 30% in the span of a few years.
Yep. And as Canmore becomes more and more of a destination place to be, as do the prices increase. So that was a whole long blurb about short-term rentals that hopefully gave you a lot of insight into how to move forward in that market or how to diversify within that market. Chris, let's switch topics.
I'm always open to that.
What kind of hikes did you get up to this week, Chris?
Well, that's one of the reasons I moved to the Bow Valley, was to have that playground right in my backyard, to be able to enjoy that active lifestyle and have that work-life balance. So I did have a chance to go out. There was one day I was out and I was in 3 feet of snow. The next day I decided to go out, snow pants and all, everything set to go for those winter conditions. And there wasn't a lick of snow, so I looked like a complete fool walking around a local hike wearing snow pants with no snow. Now, another thing which is important to know as we come further into 2026, some of these really popular hiking areas, well, they interact with wildlife corridors.
Absolutely.
And that is a big part of the Bow Valley and the conservation.
I'm going to jump in for just a second. With weather being unseasonably warm, it is important for people to be already carrying their bear spray because the bears will get confused and come out early. Continue. Wildlife closure.
Wildlife closures. Okay, that's what I was going to say. So one of the things that the Bow Valley takes a lot of pride in is living harmoniously with the local species and nature around it, and respecting that we're in their space too. So some of the popular hikes, one of them being around Tunnel Mountain. Well, Banff has just announced that they have done their annual closure of a lot of these areas back along the backside of Tunnel Mountain for predators such as wolves, cougars, to be able to hunt and keep that balance. So although a lot of the trails are not shut down to the public, it is something that you do need to know. There are certain restricted areas and it will remain like that for the next 2 months until they open everything back up again.
The good news in that is if you still want to run up Tunnel Mountain itself, you still can.
Awesome.
Well, that was our market update for you for the episode 2 of From Peaks to Properties. We hope that you found it informative and helpful, and join us next time.
Thank you very much. And remember, if you have any questions, you're definitely able to reach out to either Amy or myself. All of our contact information is listed in the comments and the description below. We would definitely be more than happy to give you any kind of advice or answer anything we can, whether it be about buying properties, selling properties in the Bow Valley, or if you're just looking for a little bit of visitor information where maybe you and some family members, or maybe just you on your own, have decided you're going to come out and spend a little bit of time in the mountains with us.
That's absolutely right. And we'll see you in our next episode. Take care. Talk soon.
Bye-bye.